Let's go to Susan McDonald now, joining me live from Queensland, of course, from Ingham in Queensland. Good to talk to you, Susan. I've got to get on to the matters in your Senate, in that wonderful Senate where, of course, we have all these esteemed senators from around the nation, and we have Lidia Thorpe as well. Do you think she's in any strife? Do you think there's any legal challenge to her position viable, or do we just have to wait for her to serve out her term?
Well, Chris, I should start by saying this is what you get when you vote for the Greens. It was the Greens who delivered us Lidia Thorpe to the Senate, to the Australian Senate, and what an embarrassment that has been. I think the legal angle is interesting, but, you know, I don't see how there is a moral ground for taking nearly $250,000 a year, but we've already got rid of the having to swear allegiance to God. She doesn't apparently swear allegiance to the King. Who's left? Does she support Australia, or is not Australian either? I think she has been. She's embarrassed Australia, and I think she should be standing down purely on the moral grounds that she doesn't back the Senate, she doesn't back the job she does, and she certainly shouldn't be taking the money that she's getting.
Yeah, it's the height of hypocrisy. I mean, we've had a bunch of Governor-Generals, including the current one, who are Republicans, but they're happy to at least abide by the system that's in place for now, I suppose. Right. But Lidia Thorpe just defies it. She says it's illegitimate, yet she's happy to take the moolah. We'll see what happens, but I suspect nothing's going to happen. I want to get to the Queensland election. It's obviously very tight. But there's this extraordinary push from Labor now to try almost really copying American politics and making abortion an issue. There are campaign signage, poll signage saying a vote for the LNP is a vote to make abortion a crime. I think we can show these up now. A vote to make abortion a crime. This is pretty ugly politics, isn't it? Is it cutting through?
Well, it's outrageous, isn't it? And it's a distraction. It's trying to stop what Queenslanders are saying. They are worried about crime. They're worried about their car being stolen, not being able to get to work or the kids to school, about waking up with somebody in their homes. They're worried about whether or not they will die in an ambulance ramped on the steps of the hospital. They're worried about the outrageous wastage of money. Queenslanders will be spending $7 billion a year on interest repayments by the end of this term. You know, this is what Queenslanders are worried about, and Labor is doing everything they can, in partnership with the Catters, I have to say, who've demonstrated that they're preferencing Labor to go back into government. So, you know, I think this is shocking. It's a real sellout of Queenslanders by trying to distract and divert attention from their failures. And that's why they want to talk about a new issue.
Well, it could work. It's a very emotive issue, and it's one that's very important to a lot of people. I've just got to put up a headline here, though, because your own federal colleague, Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, she's actually thrown fuel onto this fire by earlier in the week talking about the need to have new laws when it comes to abortion. And this is not a federal issue. It's all about state governments, and it's also about conscience votes. So do you think that's the wrong move for the federal politicians to be buying in?
Well, it is a state issue. It has to be resolved by the states. And I think, to be absolutely clear, Queenslanders across the state, when I talk to them, whether it be here in Ingham, in North Queensland, or right across the state, they're telling me that crime is what they're worried about. They're telling me about health services, and not one has raised abortion laws as something that they want to talk about. So I think this is an incredible distraction by Labor and the Catter parties to try and divert attention from their terrible failures. And what I'm saying to Queenslanders, if they want change, they have to vote for change. They have to vote for change, whether it be today, tomorrow or Saturday. Vote for change, because that's the only thing that'll stop the mess that Queenslanders in, thanks to Labor.
Thanks for joining us, Susan. I appreciate it. Susan McDonald there, who's the Shadow Resources Minister, joining us there live from Ingham in Queensland. Off to the polls on Saturday, as you know, people voting already.